Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. Now, we just finished up with Dark Knight's Death Metal. We covered Generations Shattered. And then honestly, I went and I passed out. I took a nap. And I took one much longer than I thought I was going to. But I woke up refreshed, ready to get at these 6 issues that currently are out covering Future State. And so today, the first one we are going to be covering is Future State, Superman of Metropolis. Now, before we dive into this, people have to remember that Future State isn't necessarily DC's future. Future State is just a possibility of what could possibly happen. It's an alternate reality. So whatever the fate of Superman, whatever the fate of Bruce Wayne, is not necessarily that it's etched in stone. And now with Dark Knight's Death Metal coming to its conclusion, we do have a bigger understanding of a much bigger omniverse that's in development, which is going to lead us into Infinite Frontier. And with that event, we're going to see tons and tons and tons of scenarios exactly like Future State. This is setting up them having the possibility to do an event all the time, pretty much. Now, if that's a good thing or a bad thing, you know, that's definitely a debate that we can have for another time. And speaking of which, starting Thursday, I am going to be introducing the very first episode of Comic Breakdown and More, the podcast. So Thursday, we will start recording it, and more than likely, we'll have it released Friday. And we're really going to be covering everything DC, everything Marvel, anything TV, movie related, anything that has to do with comic books, Star Wars, geekdom as a whole. We're going to be talking about it all. So be sure to come check us out. And the plan for that podcast is essentially give you guys a more in-depth and detail-oriented review of these comics. My personal thoughts on it on a much bigger scale to where we actually have some time to really dig into it. And I'm going to be joined by my brother. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Be sure to check us out. But without further ado, let's dive into Superman of Metropolis. So this one drops us right into the battle. And we're seeing Metropolis looking a lot like Gotham. And, you guys got to remember, this is 2050. So this is some years have passed now. And John Kent is the new Superman. The Superman of Metropolis. And Trojan Solutions has really started turning people into nanotech, connecting technology to every part of their being. And I don't know how this is possible, but I'm really interested in finding out the story because it says that he exiled Lex Luthor, Mr. Trojan himself. He had crippled LexCorp, and then him and his zealots declared the city as the first Republic of Metropolis. And so as all these zealots and protesters stand off with the army, it's really about to go down and the zealots start firing. And a little boy is really stuck in the crossfire. And this is where Superman comes in and starts taking all the blasts. And this is when the army as well start firing as Superman. So he's just literally taking everything right now. And then we get some inner dialogue from John. And what he tells us is about brain cells. Brain cells is an artificial intelligence. It all connects all of Mr. Trojan's zealots through technology. And it's essentially turning people into machinery that he can control. And John actually knows him pretty well. Him and Kara know him because him and Supergirl had originally fought Brainiac when he came back and tried to destroy the city. He had almost succeeded until Supergirl and Superman fought him off. And so the army is here to take down brain cells because he is literally the artificial intelligence behind all of this stuff. And he was created by some of the burnt off skin left over from Brainiac. And so Superman decides he needs to get brain cells out of here. And so he picks him up and takes him away. And Superman flies high above Metropolis. And then he initiates something that you would never imagine a Superman doing. And Superman initiates the protocol to shrink Metropolis. Not only to be shrunk, but also to be bottled. And with Metropolis completely missing off of the map, bottled up, Superman takes the city and he brings it to the Fortress of Solitude. He also has brain cells still with him. And this is where Cells really tells him, your father would have never done this. Like, think of what Clark would have done. And really, it seems like the artificial intelligence is trying to get under John's skin. But this is when Supergirl arrives and is just like straight up like, no, like, I think I'd side with the artificial intelligence on this one. Like, what the hell were you thinking? I went around to every Trojan corporation base that there was around the world, destroying all of them, thinking that they were the cause of this. And then I come to find out that it's Jonathan Kent. And Jonathan's thinking, he was thinking he did the only thing he could do. He's trying to protect his city the best way he knows how. And the problem is, he isn't Superman. He's not Clark Kent. He's half mortal. So he'll never be as strong or as powerful. And we're really seeing his insecurity play out in that regard. Because this is something, like they've said, this is something Clark would have never done. And the fact that Jonathan is doing it goes to show the significant difference between these two Supermen and the amount of growing that Jonathan still has to do before he can even begin to step into the shoes that is the Superman mantle. And while John and Supergirl have this conversation, Supergirl starts to lose it a little bit. And come to find out, all of this was a plan by an artificial intelligence. He wanted to bring Superman here. He knew Superman would bring him here. And this is where a neurodium core is connected. And it has the effects, kind of like Kryptonite, on pure Kryptonians. But the effects don't work in the same context that Kryptonite works. They work on a more aggressive level. They make the Kryptonians super aggressive. And that's exactly what's happening here. And we see Supergirl beating the crap out of Superman. And the thing is, this Supergirl is 10 times stronger than Superman. And so this, at the end of the day, isn't a fight. This is going to be a massacre. And Supergirl had also brought along the army with her because they wanted the city back by any means. She was going to get Metropolis and replace it because whatever he's up to, she doesn't want to be a part of. And the fact that he's taken it to this length makes her think that he's just lost it. Mix that with the chemical change in her body causing her to be super aggressive, and we're getting Supergirl with an army of drones versus Superman. And really, he is just getting his butt kicked. And as this fight is really coming to its climax, we see the arrival of Brainiac's ship. And this is where Supergirl and Superman realize that they need to secure Metropolis as quickly as possible. And they both rush down, but realize that it's gone. And that the artificial intelligence had taken it. And this is where we see Brain Cells shoot a beam at Supergirl, knocking her to the ground. And Brain Cells' thoughts here are he's gonna protect Metropolis from its greatest threats of all time, Superman. Now that will be the end of this issue. Now there are additional issues added in here that we're going to talk a little bit about, but we're not going to go fully into the stories. And the first story is Mr. Miracle, and is picking up inside Metropolis after they've been bottled up. And so now with glass completely surrounding the city, of course, things are going to go into chaos and craziness, and you're going to need heroes to be able to keep the peace as best as possible. And the next story is picking up with somebody that we do know at least his costume, and that's the Guardian. And the Guardian is in the same situation. He's trying to pick up the mantle while Superman is away, and he believes that Superman is going to come save them. But this is 6 months in, so they've been enclosed for 6 months at this point. And Jimmy Olsen has been kidnapped by Artist. And so he's making all of his efforts to try and rescue Jimmy. Now, Guardian was created back in the days of Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. And I believe the original name was James or Jim Harper. I can't remember exactly which one it was. And it appeared in some of the comics back in the 1940s. And he's had some revivals since then, I believe in the New 52. But again, like I've said in previous comics, this is DC Comics coming in and saying, we have characters that we have used or had throughout, the last century of our comic existence. And so now with the entire DC universe being connected as a whole, we're going to see a lot more characters like the Guardian popping up, maybe, different iterations and stuff of that nature, but we're going to see different versions or old versions coming back up to the surface and maybe getting a chance at the spotlight. Because who knows, something that may not have worked back in 1940 or 1950 may work really well moving into 2020 and 2030. But yeah, that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and until the next video,